Hello, welcome to Balance Your Books podcast. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Kina. How are you?
I am good. Good to see you today. And also, we are happy to see or hear, all of our different listeners joining us. So, Kimberly, what do we want people to do when they first join our podcast?
Well, first of all, we hope you enjoy our podcast. If you do, we want you to first subscribe. Then we want you to like, comment, and share with your friends, your business partners, anyone that you think will benefit from our podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you have any comments or questions, email us at info@yourbalancedpartners.com, or you could check out our website, yourbalancedpartners.com. How's that?
Okay. Yes, perfect. So, so today, one of the things that I do is I get the Atlanta Business Chronicle because we are in Atlanta.
Hmm.
And it's a great way just to stay connected to the business community and what kind of things are going on. And I found an article that was specifically about small businesses that I thought would be an interesting topic for us to discuss to give a perspective from the finance and accounting perspective. And it's also just to give some positivity in this year, because sometimes that's been tough to have this year. Wouldn't you agree, Kimberly?
I agree. Yes. Year
So the
started
article,
out rough.
what was that?
I said the year started out rough.
Yes, yes. So, the article said why small business owners believe 2026 could be a year of growth. And it's based on a survey that was done by Bank of America,
Okay.
in which 74% of small business owners expect increases in revenue in 2026, which is an incredible amount of optimism that we
Yes,
need right now. And I think part
I
of it
agree.
is to be an entrepreneur, I think sometimes you have to have, how do I put it? I don't know if it's unrealistic optimism, but you have to have a certain level of optimism to stay in the game.
Yes, you have to be more optimistic than the average person. You have to have that faith that your business will succeed in order for you to start and for your business to succeed. So, yeah, I think it's good that our small business owners are optimistic about 2026. I think it's great.
Yes. And so let's kind of dig into, based on the article, what kind of things are making people more positive. One of the main ones was around tariffs and tariff stabilization. And even after this article was written, the recent Supreme Court decision that said that the president of the United States does not have the authority to put on certain types of tariffs at will, that
Hmm.
is really the responsibility of Congress, because Congress is the ones that manage the purse of the federal budget and trade.
Yeah,
And
I was going to
so,
ask you, Kina, if this
yeah,
was written before or after
it
that
was. It
ruling.
was written before,
Okay.
actually. But I think it's even before, the fluctuations, that every week it was a different percentage, had
Hmm.
started to mellow out a little bit more because
Hmm.
of the feedback from the business community. I think more of the large business community than the small business community, even though the small business community was screaming. They don't have the lobbyist.
Hmm.
I think that even that had stopped, but there were still a lot of high tariffs.
Okay.
And but with this ruling, then that means that that type of fluctuation, that type of behavior coming from the executive branch is not correct per the Constitution.
Right. And I think even with the response that the president of the United States had to that ruling, where he said, well, I'm just going to do a 15% tariff worldwide, even if that can be enacted, at least there's some stabilization.
Right.
And
Right.
so there's something that you can plan on. One thing I saw, and I know we're talking about small businesses, but major corporations, when you look at their SEC filings, they all said something about tariffs
Yep.
and basically the uncertainty of it.
Yep.
So this affected not just small businesses, it affected worldwide. And so it's good to know that hopefully we are going to get to a stable area as it
Mhm,
relates to those tariffs.
mhm. And it's interesting because, we talked about in our last podcast around pricing. So,
Hmm.
for anyone who has not listened to that podcast, check that out because that's directly tied to this. Because you have a certain amount that your customer is willing to pay. And so,
Yeah.
when your expenses, because of things like tariffs, so if you are someone who gets a lot of your products that you sell from overseas, especially, then you were trying to figure out, can you absorb that cost into your cost of sales, or could you pass that on to your consumer if your customer is willing to pay it?
Yes. Yeah. Do you increase your prices or do you absorb the cost and decrease your gross profit? Those are
Exactly.
decisions that had to be made. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And so that is one piece that with that, and I think with this current ruling could help level off some of that. And it'll take some time. But
Yeah.
for the small businesses, which is different, than a corporation, you can manage your costs and your pricing quicker. You don't have to
Yes.
go through board of directors. You don't have to go through 500 different people. You, as a small business owner, you're working directly with your customers, and hopefully you are looking at your financials every month,
Mhm.
and you're building them every month so you can kind of see and look at, maybe there's something I can do here to try and attract more customers now that I know something about what my future orders are going to be, what
And you
those
can
pricing's going to
begin
be.
to negotiate, pricing with your vendors.
Hmm.
When you're talking to your vendors and you're buying things, you're not buying them on such a large scale where you have, you're taking advantage of volume discounts and you're buying so much product that you've already entered into this contract that may span a year or even longer. Start negotiating with your vendors to say, hey, now that I know this is coming down the pipeline, how can we work together to lower our costs?
Yep. Yep. Great idea to figure that out. So then another piece of it was around the labor market.
Okay.
And so it had an interesting perspective, and this is one that some of it's counterintuitive a little bit because this article is stating that the labor market is tight. And so that while a lot of small businesses may not be doing a lot of hiring, they aren't going to reduce staff.
Okay.
So that's more around, the exact thing was that it said, because the labor market is tight, only 1% of small business owners are planning to lay off employees in the next 12 months, with 43% planning to hire more.
Okay.
That's interesting because on the corporate level, we've seen several companies
Mhm.
that have recently had layoffs or going through that process right now. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people that I know personally have been impacted by that
Mhm.
at the corporate
Yes.
level.
Mhm.
That's typically, that's the first thing that larger corporations do when they're trying to manage costs is they cut people.
Right.
So,
Unfortunately.
yes. And so there's also been, significant cuts at the federal government level, that has also impacted, particularly for Black women. A lot of people may have heard that I think it was 300,000 are lost their jobs through the federal cuts. So you talk
Mhm.
about, well, if small businesses potentially could be hiring 43% more, what does that mean for you as you are in the job market, that maybe you change your perspective about what type of places you work,
Right.
because small
Right.
businesses could potentially be growing. What do you
Yeah.
think, Kimberly?
I agree. I think part of that, 43% saying that they expect to hire, it tracks with 76%. I can't remember the
Mhm.
percentage,
Mhm.
but the large
Yep.
percentage saying that they expect growth in
74.
2026. So, with growth comes more work, more production, and with that, you may need more people. So,
Right.
the good thing is they don't expect to lay off
Mhm.
employees. And I agree. When I talk to my students even, and they're talking about my class now is juniors and seniors, and they're talking about entering the workforce. I always tell them, consider smaller businesses. You know, the big major corporations, they will come and they will show up at the job fairs, but there's only so many positions there for you. Look at the
Mhm.
smaller business. If you, especially if you're planning to stay in Atlanta, start gaining those contacts and networking and meeting people, because you may find your career within a smaller business. And a lot of the students now, the youth, they have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes.
And the best way to get there is through working with a small business.
Mhm. Yes. And because you'll get, exposure to more. You tend to
Yes.
get exposure to more when you work for a smaller business or in particular for your well, some of your students, I guess, are accounting majors. Some
Most
are.
of them now, most of them, no, they're juniors and seniors. They're either accounting or finance majors.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So, so back in our is it I don't know if is it still the Big 4?
it's
Or
still the Big 4.
yeah, so,
Yes.
so going to the major accounting firms, which I mean, we went to a major accounting firm, but what I've noticed with some of the smaller ones that you get exposure to being able to do a lot of different types of work,
Yep.
so that you're not so pigeonholed into one line of business. So there
Mhm.
is those opportunities there, um, when you consider something smaller for the accounting side.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah. And so with the labor market, when you think from a forecasting perspective, uh, you know, the big thing for small business owners to remember is when you are thinking about hiring, that you forecast it properly so that you are not
Mhm.
over hiring. I had a
Exactly.
colleague that I worked with at one of our clients, and how did he used to put it as, you need to be maniacal about your expenses and stretch your current staff to its brink before you consider hiring more staff.
I agree, especially for a small business, because with a small business, typically you don't have that cushion that major
Yes,
corporations may have, where
yes,
if business is down, we could take them and put them on another project.
right, right.
Let's take this person that's in sales and move them to another area. Let's help let them do a small internship in product development or something like that. With a
Hmm.
small business, what you have is typically what you have. So yeah, you have to be real intentional about your hiring and when you hire. And we've talked about this on previous podcasts, whether or not you're going to hire an employee or you're going to have contractors,
Right.
and be very intentional about that decision as well.
Right. And follow the rules
Yes,
around
definitely.
direction and
Uh,
all of that,
yes.
around whether they have to be an employee or a contractor. So, because employees are expensive, and especially
Hmm.
for a small business, I mean, they're expensive in general, which is why we mentioned earlier, corporations tend to cut them first. But the employees are expensive because not only do you have whatever the salary is you're paying them, you have payroll taxes, you have, if you're using a payroll system, payroll processing fees, so there's a lot of extra cost. I usually, on average, say if you're thinking of employee, you think of their salary and add at least plus about 15%.
Yes,
And then that's
exactly.
how much they truly cost is salary plus 15%.
Hmm.
And that's if you don't have benefits that you're paying.
Right.
So if you then are going to pay benefits or some portion of like their healthcare benefits or long-term insurance or I mean excuse me, life insurance or any of those other kind of benefits, then you're getting up to about 20%.
Yes. So that's
So
something to
it's
consider.
their salary plus at least 20%. So when you
Hmm.
think about that, when you hire, you need to always be planning and forecasting out based on adding those additional costs. Because I've seen that be where people mess up, where they just kind of put in that person's salary, and then it's like, people cost a lot. It's like, well, no, you could have planned and forecasted for that properly.
Right. Exactly.
So with the labor and the forecasting of labor, Is there anything else that you wanna highlight as maybe something that is important?
Not not with labor. I wanna get to the n one of the next parts in the article.
Okay, let me move
Yeah.
on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, so with the labor, that's that. The other thing that's interesting is they're saying the impact of artificial intelligence, and that about 77% have integrated AI into their operations in some way. Most of them in either marketing or content production, customer service, inventory management. Those are kind of been the main areas where people have used AI. Have you seen people using it, anything that you've been working with? I don't know.
So, one of the things that I've seen with small business owners
Yep.
is relying too much on AI,
Mm,
thinking, "I don't need an accountant because this system where I have my numbers, it has
mhm.
AI,
Yeah.
and it I could just, use what it says." And I
Mhm.
found that AI it's a wonderful tool, but AI can be wrong.
Yes.
And that's a big question I get from my students. How do you think AI will affect? Do you think we'll have jobs? Will they have
Mhm.
accounting jobs? And I always say, AI is great, but you need the knowledge to be able to check to make sure that AI is right. We definitely
Right.
need that. Now, some of your more um data intensive tasks, yeah,
Mhm.
AI can do that. But the key is making sure, yes, use AI, use it to your advantage, but making sure you have an expert that can check to make sure that what AI is saying is correct. And you don't have to, someone has to come up on the tail end to try and fix it.
Yeah, and that's what I've, in looking at a lot of our, the general ledger and accounting software, they all have an AI element to them. But to me,
Hmm.
the financial insights they give are like pseudo basic. So, for instance, your revenue went up 20%. It in some from the last period. Well, okay, why?
Yeah, we know that.
So,
They don't
and
know.
then, or maybe it says inventory has gone down 30% while your revenue went up 20, but it has no more insight beyond that.
Hmm.
So it gives you super basic financial analysis. But one of the things that you learn from a process or financial analysis is I always use the concept of the five whys, and that is, where you're trying to get to the root cause of what drove something, and you keep asking why at least 5 times. And
Yeah.
AI maybe can get you through the first why, but that second, third, fourth, and fifth why, it's not there. That's when the insights around it that's when the insights is telling you, this is not it doesn't give you that extra layer
Right.
of information that you need.
Yeah. Here's teacher's corner. We're just going over that this week in class, taking your variance analysis on different steps. And I
Mhm.
told them, I said, "Oh, I like this part, y'all. We're gonna have fun with this topic because you can start by saying, like you said, revenue increased 20%. Why? Do we raise prices? Did we get more customers? Is it a volume? What is it? What is it? So
Mhm.
yeah, you need the expertise and the knowledge, and it's a collaboration between the business owner knowing exactly what happened, and your accountant knowing how to break it down and break down the numbers to ask the right questions so we can get a detailed analysis.
Right. And so what I have seen is that AI gives you information, but it doesn't ask you the questions.
Hmm.
Like, it doesn't
Exactly.
it doesn't it doesn't give you to that next level that you are talking about. Maybe one day it'll get, smarter, but it's gonna get smarter because people like us give it data.
Right. Right. But before we end, let's talk about these interest rates. 'Cause
Yes. Yes.
that was a
Yes.
topic in there and,
Yes.
how
Go ahead,
business
Kimberly.
business owners being, optimistic because of interest rates going down,
Mhm.
particularly if uh,
Borrow.
you have to borrow money, or let's say you have a business credit card that you're not paying off the entire balance, that
Mhm.
lowers your interest expense. So yeah, I think that's a positive, and one way to be optimistic about the future, because sometimes interest expense can take a lot out of your profit.
Yes. Yes. And so there because they said here that 88% say they are currently being impacted by inflation, a
Mhm.
percentage consistent with last year. And so they've raised the prices of their goods and services, and they're reevaluating their cash flow and spending for the year ahead. So even though interest rates are lower, it's still cash forecasting, which is
Mhm.
actually to close out is something we should tell our podcast listeners is that Your Balance Partners and Balance Your Books podcast has started a program called Cash Flow Confidence. And Cash Flow Confidence is a program that we have put together in order to build confidence in how you're growing your business for small business owners and
Yes.
being able to give you some avenues and platforms around how you could do that. So we will start off having open Q&A sessions. We're going to play around with when we schedule them. You can check on Eventbrite. They'll always be out there under Cash Flow Confidence. And we will be having a website called cashflowconfidence.com that you'll be able to go to and sign up and find out about when those opportunities become available. So,
And might
we'll
I
def
also add, we
yeah,
don't normally publicize this, but our social media channels, you can find it on our
yes,
LinkedIn. Now, this is Your Balanced Partners. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we're on Threads. Well,
TikTok,
anyway, so if you look if you look up Your Balanced Partners on the social media channels, you can find out about our cash flow confidence program.
yes. And, so I think that that's pretty much so just to wrap it up. So, we talked about several different things. We talked about, the labor and making sure that you plan those costs properly. And increasing people costs and calculating that appropriately. We talked about the impact of AI. Use it, but review it. Was that a way to put
Mhm.
it? We talked
Yep.
about interest rates while they're going down, and that's good, but you also got to make sure you're doing proper forecasting, particularly
Testing.
around cash flow.
And the
Did I miss
stability
one?
of tariffs. Stability of
And the
tariffs.
stability of tariffs, yes. And
Yes.
so that and looking at how that impacts your pricing and also negotiating with your vendors.
Okay. Yep, yep, yep. So,
Yeah.
we have, a shoot the shit topic. I
Kimberly!
said it. Well, you know what? We are we are we are labeled as explicit
Yeah, we are, which is
on
so funny.
we are, right. So, I've tried my best not to cuss in our
I thought you
podcast,
gave it up for
and those
Lent.
that know me know that I didn't give that up
Oh,
for
I
Lent.
thought you did.
But if
Oh,
you know me personally, no, I said I thought about it, but
oh, you've thought about it.
these
Yeah,
times
that's
call
right.
for
That's
cussing.
right. You said it wasn't
So
gonna work.
I've been good. I'd have to count how long we've been doing this. Almost a year, and I have not uttered a curse word on the
No.
podcast until today. Welcome to 2026.
2026, baby. Welcome.
I'm gonna shut up and
So
let you handle it, Kina.
so it's the shooting the topic. And what we talked about was friends who are your dear friends, your sisters, really, your
Sister
sisters from
friend,
another
yes.
mother, and
Mhm.
how different we all could be. And so we
Mhm.
actually started with our mugs today. So this is actually my mug, and this is a shout out to Mantra Mugs, which is a Black woman owned mug company. And so I have a lot of her mugs, and you can actually,
Same.
she already has them with different sayings, or you can get your own favorite saying put on it, which is what I did. And mine is don't talk about it, be about it. That's like my favorite phrase.
And mine is I am enough. And it came up because Kina was she was pressing me to do something. And I was like, and I said, well, I'll get around to it. And she's like, don't talk about it, be about it. And I said, look, I am enough as I am right now. And so that's our dynamic. She said, "Do you want me to help you?" I said, "No, I'll get somebody else to help me
She
because
doesn't want my help. She doesn't
she
want
will
my
stress
help.
me out. She'll stress me out." So, yeah, but that's
'Cause
okay. That's what makes us because when it's something that I really need to do, when I know I need to, I know that I could call on my friend Kina and
yes.
we're gonna get it done. But then there
Yes.
are things that are like, I'll do it in my own time and we'll get it done and it's gonna be all right. So,
That
yes.
is true. That
But
is
Kina
true.
will say, "Don't talk about it, be about it." So some things I don't talk to her about because she will be on me and I'm like, "I'm enough. I am enough, ma'am.
And you are enough, Kimberly.
I
You are
am."
enough.
Even when I'm talking about
Even
it and not
when
being
you
about it.
don't talk about it, you are enough. And hopefully, all of our small business owners out there listening feel like they're enough. And as we go into 2026, that they feel confident. Hopefully, this is
Yes.
something that even if maybe your business is in the valley right now, there is optimism out there. There should be optimism out there for your business. Work with the right partners to help you get there. We are here
Mhm.
for you, and you'll see other avenues where we can support you as you continue to grow your business. So, thank you
Yes.
for joining us today. Kimberly, any
Mhm.
other parting words?
Like, subscribe, share, yourbalancepartners.com, Balance Your Books podcast.
Okay, and check us out on Cash Flow Confidence as well, which will be on Eventbrite. Thank you all. Have a good day.